This is a tutorial on using the program features in SDA. For the sake of illustration, we will use ICPSR study number 20960, 2002 State Legislative Survey. I have already logged into my MyData account. To go to SDA, from the studies website, scroll to the bottom and click on Analyze Data using SDA. This screen confirms our request, and we click on the link, which takes us to the terms of use, which we accept, and we're in SDA. The research question asks, how many women who serve in the legislature are in each chamber, and which region of the U.S. do they represent? To answer the question, we will run a cross-tabulation on the variables chamber and region, and filter on the variable gender by selecting only the value female. So let's start by opening a codebook. The SDA codebook has information on variables and the study, and it opens in a new window. To open the full version of the codebook, click on Full Study Documentation. This is the default view of SDA, the Frequency and Cross-Tabulation Program. On the left-hand side of the window is the Variable Selector and the Variable Tree. These tools allow you to select variables for analysis and put them in the appropriate position. The Variable Tree is on the lower left-hand side of the window. Each of the headings open to show the variable names and some description of the variable. The center bar of the window can be moved to the right so you can see most or all of the text. The variable selector moves the variables into the proper position for your analysis by specifying where it will reside. To move the variable from the tree to the selector, simply click on the variable. From here you can specify where it will reside by clicking on the position. This moves it over into the program. The mode is set to replace by default. If you wish to add more than one variable to a position, click the Append Radio button. To find what the variable values are, click on the View button. This brings up a list of the values and their labels. Or you can go to the SDA codebook and click on Standard Variable List, and let's look at Chamber. And here are the values and their labels and the frequencies. The next question in the variable list, the variable name is Z13, and you can see that there's a question associated with it. The label is the district and the value is the district number, and the frequencies are by the value. On the right-hand side of the window is the program for frequencies and cross-tabulation. It also has the table and chart options. The heading and positions here are hyperlinked to helps in the SDA program. Click on General Help for an overview of the frequency and cross-tabulation program. It also describes each step along the way. SDA will allow you to do a weighted analysis. The available weights are listed here in the drop-down box. If the study that you select doesn't have a weight, the field will say no weight. When there are multiple weights, rely on the codebook to tell you which to apply and when. Please note, using the weight feature only allows for a single weight at a time. The table and chart options also has the hyperlink to explanations on each of the options. The defaults are checked, but they can be reconfigured as you see fit. Let's do the analysis for our research question. We already have chamber in the selector, and we want chamber to be in the column, so we'll click on COL for column, and you'll see that it moved chamber into the column position. We'll go back to the variable tree, and under the heading Geographic Variable, we'll look for region. Clicking on region replaces chamber in the variable selector. And we want region to reside in the row, and that moves the variable into the row position in the program. Then we need the demographic variable for gender. The variable name is Z27, and that replaces region in the selector. Let's take a look at the difference between the selection filter and control options. Control, when selected, will perform the analysis on each of the values of the variable individually. If you select gender, the crosstab will be done for male and female separately, and then SDA will do an analysis on all valid cases. The selection filter option requires that you specify what value of the variable you wish to use. In this case, we're interested in doing the analysis on females only. Selection filter is the right option to select only females. Click on Filter, and that moves the variable into the program and gives us a parentheses. We can check this in a couple of ways, but let's use the View option. As it's still in the variable selector, we click on View, and that opens a window describing the variable, and it tells us that the value 1 is female and 2 is male. So we need to put a 1 in that parentheses. The study has a weight available. Let's check the codebook for instruction on the weight's use. Click on Analysis Weight Notes. There's a bit of a discussion, but it says that the data should be used weighted by NEWWTZ. Using this weight, each legislator is weighted equally, correcting for differential response rates. We'll use the weight. Let's take a look at the table and chart options. These options will allow you to change the look of the table and chart or suppress the display of the table. You can show confidence intervals, percentages on column and totals, change the number of decimal places, display the question text by checking one of the options here. In the chart option, let's stay with the default setting for the most part. Except in chart option setting, let's change it to bar chart. You can select 2 or 3D visualization, show percentages, and in the palette option, you can choose color or grayscale. You should know that you can't change the colors. You can change the size of the output. There is an option now to title your output. We'll name it Women in the Legislature by Region by Chamber. Clicking on Run the Table will open a new window with the results of the analysis. The first thing that SDA does in the output is confirm the title and the time that it was run and the data that was used, the variables that were used, and the position in the analysis. It also gives the value labels and the ranges. Frequency distribution, or crosstab, is next. It shows us the number of representatives from each region of the U.S. in each chamber. The frequency in each cell and percentage is given. The cell of the tables are color-coded according to the Z statistic for the analysis. The Z statistic shows whether the frequency in a cell are greater or fewer than expected. The key for the coding is directly below the table. This shows that the cells with frequencies that are higher than expected are in red, and those frequencies that are fewer than expected are in blue. This is followed by the chart. This is a graphic representation of the crosstab above. The unit of measurement here is percentages. The column information from the crosstab goes on the x-axis, and the row information goes on the y-axis. The color key for the identities of the bars along the bottom of the chart. The last section of the SDA output is a report on the allocation of cases. This tells us how many of the cases were excluded by weight or filter. Remember, we only use those cases that were female. Note that the number of valid cases, 752, is not the same as the number of respondents in the table, 675. Also note that there is no mention of missing cases in the allocation of cases. Most likely, the difference between these numbers can be attributed to the weight. Generally, results are moved into Word, Excel, or PowerPoint when completed. I'll show you how to move them into PowerPoint. To save the table, highlight that part that we wish to move into a table and copy it. Open PowerPoint and click on the Insert Table icon. We have to specify the rows and columns of the table. In this case, we have 5 columns and 8 rows. Put your cursor in the first row and first column and paste in the table from SDA. Let's go back to the output and we're going to move the chart. Put your cursor in the middle of the chart and right click and save picture as, and I'm going to save it to the desktop as chart 1. Go back to PowerPoint to the next slide and we're going to insert a picture which is on the desktop, and there it is, and we insert it. Finally, as with all ICPSR study, the data need to be properly cited. The citation can be found in the codebook. Click on Terms of Use and Bibliographic Citation, and here's the citation. You can use the citation as appropriate. This has been a tutorial on using SDA analysis features.